Hey, welcome back to Matt again. My name is Rampage, and this is just going to be a discussion video, or game rant, that I don't know, I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, and that's game length, and does it really matter how long the game is? Well, I'd like to start with shorter games, because shorter games I've found to have either a compelling story, or just short for no apparent reason. Now I'm not talking about indie games that are like platformers or anything like that. I'm talking about story, narrative, or narrative-driven games. And I found that shorter versions of games are genuinely more compelling or actually have a decent story. Whereas games that are dragged out or longer than, say, 5 to 6 hours, anywhere above or in the time frame of 8 to 13 hours, is always dragged out. And by dragged out, I mean a lot of the plot involved, or a lot of the gameplay involves filler. And filler is not a good thing. If you're just adding this stuff in just because you want to make the game longer, it's not compelling, it's not interesting, and it doesn't improve upon the story. It doesn't add anything to the story, which is really annoying. Now, I get it. Games are supposed to do that, or not really supposed to, but they do it. I get it. It's just annoying when a lot of the games that are coming out these days are anywhere from 8 to 15 hours long, yet most of the game is filled with filler, which is fucking annoying. You know, you've got games like Alien Isolation, where the start of the game, like the first hour or an hour and a half at least, is story-driven, but then the massive chunk in between is just filler gameplay. Then at the end, it has, a sort of story bit, which is really frustrating. I don't like that approach to games at all, especially if you're going to add an alien that sort of comes out of the vents whenever it wants to, sort of looks around like a human, looking for the player, is really fucking annoying and repetitive. If it's going to constantly do that, it doesn't really add any horror elements. I'm just like, okay, he's come out of the vents, I don't really care, I'll sit over here, wait for him to fucking go back in the vents and piss off, and then continue with the game. That is how I played most of Alien Isolation. Another example is Assassin's Creed Unity, where a lot of the game is spent just running to the objective, which has plagued the Assassin's Creed franchise since it started. Now, I don't have an issue with running to an objective. It's just when it's slower than it needs to be. Where, in Assassin's Creed Unity, they took the ability away from you that you could actually jump on a horse. I don't know if that was actually a thing, but I didn't see any horses in that game, as far as I'm aware. Or any horses that I could use, which was really frustrating, as well as the lack of fast travel. Which, again, was annoying, because if the fucking objective was on the other side of the map, I don't want to run there. Because the running in Assassin's Creed Unity was really slow, and I had that issue from the start. So, yeah, just that in itself was really irritating. As well as games like Shadow of Mordor, where if you're on a Caragor, which is their equivalent of horse, is if you go to the objective and you have to get off your Caragor to actually get into the objective or trigger the objective, once you do so, the Caragor just fucking disappears. That is really frustrating gameplay, and that is a really frustrating approach to trying to... I don't know what they were trying to do, but it's just fucking frustrating. Because if I'm going to the objective on a Caragor, I would expect to be able to go to that objective, do the objective with a Caragor. I do understand that they don't really want you to stay on the Caragor, I get it. But if I'm going to that objective with a Caragor, I would expect to be able to use that same Caragor to defend myself, or use it as a weapon to try and beat the objective. And that's just how I wanted to play the game, but they didn't give me that option. Now, games like that have, RPG games that have ridiculous amounts of content or ridiculous amounts of objectives, and I'm talking about The Witcher. The Witcher 1 took me about 60 hours to complete that game. Now, why did it take me 60 hours, you ask? Well, this is why. Because most of that game is essentially you just running to the other side of the map to do the objective, killing a bunch of things, coming back to the fucking inn, which is like 2 or 3, depending on where the objective is, loading screens away. So far away, there's no actual fast travel, and there's no horse at all in that game. So it takes ages to walk or run back. And a lot of the combat in that game was, or how I beat the game on hard difficulty, was if I'm in an area or closed in area, say if I'm in a building or something like that, and I had to kill like 4 or 5 people, I would go to one side of the map, or the room, make all those guys come around me. That sounded really weird, but I'd make him go to me, and then I would run out of the way, run to the other side of the room, and those guys would just stay there. They wouldn't follow me, which was really weird, because it acted like they had a ring around them, that they would only attack things within that proximity, which was really weird, because you could completely exploit that by running slightly into it, and then causing one guy to run to you. You run back, so he stays near you. Lead him into a corner, beat the shit out of him, and just keep doing that. That's how I beat the game. I shit you not, that's how I beat the game. Because that exploit alone was enough to actually make me play the game still. Now, granted, if I couldn't do that and the enemies were constantly just fucking around me all the time, I wouldn't have been able to complete it, because there was no, like, if you're getting attacked from behind, you can't, while you're attacking, you can't cancel that and block the guy behind you very easily. In The Witcher 2, you can, which is good, which they actually improved on. But on top of that, basically, if I had like little health, like about this much, like little amounts of health left, essentially what I had to do, because I used a mod, or several mods for that game, is I had to go to a corner or sit out of combat for actual 30 minutes, because that's for some reason how long it took for me to actually regen my health. Don't know why, because I did actually upgrade the regen health thing. I even tried using potions that actually give me health. Didn't do anything. So I had to sit in a corner or sit out of combat for over 30 minutes for my health to regen. And that was so painful. Really irritating. So I would blame the modders for that, because that was a fucking flaw in their own mod, or just an irritation in their own mod. But yeah, I don't like long games when the gameplay is filled with complete filler or no actual story objective at all. Some games have objectives that are story, right? But it doesn't tie in to the actual narrative, which is really annoying. Like, it doesn't need to be there. I don't care how long the game is, it doesn't need to be there. If that objective has nothing to do with the actual story, or doesn't improve upon the story, doesn't, lead into a story element, it doesn't need to be there. And a lot of games out there have had this issue for ages. Now, in RPG games, that's a different story, because it's RPG. Well, no, because RPG games is just a role-playing game. Why would I, as a badass fucking Witcher, go around doing everybody else's work? I don't care if I'm getting money for it. If I have my own objective, why am I not doing that? Or why am I not finding out this stuff? Why am I doing all this other shit that will apparently lead into the story? Now, The Witcher 1 also had issues where you actually had to complete side quests to complete main quests, which was really weird, because if it's not a main quest, it shouldn't lead into main quests. But yeah. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think that shorter games are better? Longer games are better? Which one do you think is better? Because for me, I'm kind of in the middle. I prefer games to actually be compelling, or compelling enough for me to actually continue in the game, which I haven't experienced in a long time. And I'm actually urging for developers to create a game that, if they want it to be 13 hours long, create a story that is compelling enough and for me to actually want to continue. I haven't experienced that in a long time, other than Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, apart from all the fucking issues I've had with that game. Shit. But, yeah. I don't know. I'm obviously a nitpicky motherfucker when it comes to this sort of stuff, but I would like to think that developers would rather have quality over quantity. Wouldn't you think that as well? But anyway, my name is Rampage. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Remember, let me know what you actually think about this, because I want to get you guys to sort of interact a bit more and give me your thoughts. But anyway, peace out.